Yophi here. I wanted to talk to you about the proper application of Jesus. Now, we tend to think that a lot of what we're supposed to do as believers is to get people to a church, get them saved, or we call it soul winning, when in reality, that's not what Jesus said to do, okay? If you go back to the very beginning, Adam and woman, they were supposed to multiply. Multiply what? Physically? Yes, that, but it was also to make the earth like Eden. Okay, you've got this one spot in Eden where God is. And then you've got all of this other earth that's not like Eden. And your job is to spread out, scatter, multiply, make the whole earth like this. And Adam and the woman, they never did that. They failed at that. They fell. So God then, he tries to work with it. He prophesies about Jesus. He prophesies. And then next, what do we have? Man becomes so depraved that the flood, right? You've got this second fall, the flood. Now, after the flood, what does he tell Noah to do? Be fruitful and multiply. You've got a new earth here, okay? All right, you've got a new heaven, new earth. Be fruitful, multiply. He gives Noah the same command that he gave Adam. What do? They build a tower. They build a tower to try and make it look like a mountain, like Mount Olympus. That's what they're doing. They're trying to create Mount Olympus and saying, everybody come here instead. Why? Because we have the presence of God here. Okay, we have the presence of God in this spot. We've got a box, we've got a leash that we could put God on, and we want to contain him here. And that's exactly what a lot of people are doing now. We've got God in this place. If you come here to this church, if you come to my group, if you come to my church, if you come to my service, if you listen to my pastor, then the presence of God will overtake you and things will happen for you. That's exactly what happened at the Tower of Babel, which is the opposite of what God said. He said to be fruitful, multiply. He said, go out, okay? And what do we say? Come in, all right? It's the exact opposite of what God said. So God scattered them, which is exactly what they were saying we didn't want to do. We don't want to be scattered. We don't want to go to all of the earth. We want to cover just this one spot. We want everybody to congregate here, okay? So how does that relate to the application of Christ today? Well, think about it. Jesus wants us to spread, okay? It's about territory. It's not about how many people you could get at your church. It's not about building up a big mega church, mega ministries, mega everybody. It's not about everybody liking your stuff, okay, on social media. It's not about that. If you look at the history books, Jesus was not well liked. Jesus went down as one of the worst leaders in history. The only place where Jesus is spoken about positively is in the Bible. Everywhere else, he's not very well liked. Okay, so you need to understand that, all right? And that goes out to all of the people who want to make these messages about who's popular and who's not. It's not about who's popular by man's standards. Jesus's most defining moment, the moment where God was most pleased with him, was when he was most humiliated, most beaten, most bruised, most bloodied, hung on a tree, naked for the world to see. God was never more pleased with Jesus than that moment. According to history, that would be a most humiliated moment where people mocked him on social media. They mocked him on everywhere. That's the part where God was most pleased with him. Okay, so that's not a part of the video, but I want to get that in there. Okay, so what does this have to do with the application? The application means that we're supposed to be taking what God gives and spreading it. But according to the world, that's bad. Because we have this, Christian nationalism. You're supposed to be a Christian nationalist. You're not supposed to be a Christian when you're at church and then not be a Christian when you deal with politics. You're supposed to take your Christianity there. And you're supposed to have Christians who bombard politics so that there are more Christians in politics. You're supposed to have more Christians as cops. You're supposed to have more Christians as judges. You're supposed to, who better to judge you than somebody who understands mercy? Who better to enforce the law than somebody who understands mercy and grace? Who better? Who better to be a teacher than somebody who understands from the great teacher, than somebody who learns from that. But what do we say? No, make sure you keep Jesus out of the school. Just stay in your church. Just stay in your Tower of Babel. You stay over there, okay? Don't spread out. Just stay over there in your temple. That's what the world is telling you to do. And a lot of Christians are falling for that. No, you're supposed to be a Christian nationalist, whatever schisms that comes with, whatever negativity that comes with. You're supposed to be there. Now, granted, are people going to scrutinize and scandalize your name? Of course. They did the same thing back to Jesus. They wanted you to be guilty by association. If you associate with Jesus, we will kick you out of the temple. Duh. How many people for associating with Donald Trump get removed from plane flights, get removed from their jobs, get removed from this, just from associating with Trump? They want you to be guilty by association, even if you don't do anything. Okay? It's the same thing that they were doing back then. Do you know how many riots were started in the name of Paul, who preaches Jesus? Paul didn't start those riots, but because the riot was started and people started going crazy and the police had to come and all of that stuff, they had to drag him out of the city. If you associate with Paul, that's what they're associating your name with. Riots and bad things. And Paul put it as one of his accreditations for being an apostle. Riots that were started in his name. Okay, so we have to read the book the way that it's really written. CNN and Fox News that I've been telling you guys were the false prophets. I've been telling you that for years. CNN and Fox News and New York Times and New York Post or MSM, whatever, they would never have anything positive to say about Jesus. They would have never had anything positive to say about him. Okay? So we have to understand that if the world is treating you kindly, it's because you're not doing what Jesus did. The world did not treat Jesus kindly. Read the Gospels. His own brothers did not believe in him. Only one brother of his, physical, only one brother of his, Mary's son, came. And that was after the resurrection. Because during Jesus' ministry, none of his family wanted to have anything to do with him. They didn't want to have anything to do with him. They mocked him. But then afterwards, you get one, James, who wrote the letter of James. Okay? So we have to understand that when you're talking about application of the word, you are supposed to spread out Christians. We should have Christian authors. We should have Christian politicians. Who better to be in politics right now than Christians? We should have Christian movie makers, Christians who are writing the plays. And I'm not talking about that Tyler Perry stuff, because those aren't Christian, okay? Those just, they got a lot of Christianese in there, but not a lot of Christ, okay? So, and I'm not trying to take a shot at him as a person. I'm talking about the work that we put out there should all talk about Christ. It should all be Christ-centered. Cops, you should be out there representing Jesus, not representing what you're representing. And some of the cops, you know what I'm talking about when I say that. Politicians, you should not have Christians coming against you because you're supporting all these types of murder and murder of the innocent and the molestation and all of these things that are actually supported, lowering the age of consent down and not needing permission from your own parents to do this. You need permission to live there, and your parents need to take responsibility for you, but you don't need permission to sleep with a 55-year-old man at 13. That's what you're doing in politics? No, we need Christians there, okay? We need Christians in the classroom, okay? We need Christians as authors. We need Christians, watch this, even in the video game sector. Why are all the games demonic and heavily influenced by forces of darkness? Okay, it shouldn't be some cheap, stupid little, Christians should make actual productions that are worth getting. That should be us. Scatter and make the world look like Eden. That's your job. I hope this encourages you. I hope that God actually tells you about your talents. He's given you talents, right? And I'm not talking about specifically abilities. He's given you responsibility. Take it, multiply it. Don't stay here in this one spot. Multiply it. 30, 60, 100. All right? I hope it encouraged you. I'll see you on the next one.